is atheism anyways? According to dictionary.reference.com, atheism is the doctrine or belief that there is no God, disbelief in the existence of a supreme being or beings. According to Webster's Ninth New Collegiate Dictionary, which you may have at home as I do, atheism is a disbelief in the existence of deity, the doctrine that there is no deity. PhilosophyPages.com says that atheism is belief that God does not exist. Unlike the agnostic, who merely criticizes traditional arguments for the existence of a deity, the atheist must offer evidence. PhilosophyDictionary.org says that atheism is the denial of the existence of God. God does not exist. I think that going to philosophy dictionaries is probably a really good way to discover the meaning of atheism, since it's a very philosophically heavy, meaningful term. According to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, atheism means the negation of theism, the denial of the existence of God. These are all strong assertive themes. The University of Aberdeen's Glossary of Technical Terms also agrees and says that an atheist is someone who believes that there is no God. This doesn't seem like much of a debate, but what about some of the atheist websites? What do they say atheism is? On infidels.org, under the title What is Atheism?, it says atheism is characterized by an absence of belief in the existence of gods. At atheism.about.com, it is defined as not believing in any gods. These are very weak, very soft definitions of atheism. I wonder why.
Atheism. I don't think it means what you mean it to mean. Your words are confusing me when you put it that way. Why make it confusing when you can just say it plain? If you believe there is no God, just come out with a claim. Lack of belief in God makes your stance sound weak and lame. Atheism. You say that my baby's lacking a belief in God. Well, I can say the same thing about my lucky fishing rod. I don't need no big words to prove that concept wrong. So I thought I'd make fun of it, singing in this song. Atheism. Yeah. Philosophically, I think you may have missed that simply a lack of belief does not make an atheist. I'm not trying to make fun or suggest that we should hate. Just want to keep some other folks from making that mistake. Atheism. Yeah.
You're listening to the Bible Thumping Wingnut Show, the show that's safe for the whole family. Unless your family contains professing atheists.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Atheist Experience. I am your host, the Bible Thumping Wingnut. My co-host, Len Pettis, is in the Wisconsin office of the massive network, Bible Thumping Wingnut Network. This is the Atheist Experience. Len Pettis and I, every week, destroying any attempt for the Atheist Experience hosts to make any coherent argument. It's easy. It's like shooting fish in a barrel.
Destroying with total destruction.
I'm actually surprised they're having a show this week after what happened last week. So,
yeah.
But
I mean, we ended their career. What are they still doing here?
They've decided to do another show. Which
amazing recovery.
But even though it's another show, Matt Dillahunty knows enough not to return. Surely he won't return.
He's at home licking his wounds as we speak.
Josh, the realistic nihilist, last week, pretty much. I mean, is it proper for me to say that he pwned him? Like, was he pwned?
That was old school YouTube pwnage. That's what that was.
Calling in an atheist show, posing as a theist when you're actually an atheist, concerned that the other atheist, Matt Dillahunty, is using arguments that are fallacious, and doing it for the sport of it. Dillahunty left with well, I might not be a properly trained philosophical, might not have a philosophical degree. I'm self-taught, but I got you to call me, so I win. Which reminds me, Len, of the time that he called me and asked me if he could come on my show.
Yep.
I've never done that to him. I've never asked to be on his show.
Right.
So I guess I win.
You win. You're the winner.
Of course I don't win, folks. Okay? You atheists screaming saying, no, that doesn't mean you win. You're absolutely right. It doesn't mean I win. And for me to make that claim would be idiotic, which is what Matt Dillahunty did when somebody calls him. You called me, so I win.
Yep.
Go to BibleThumpingWingnut.com. You will get not only the Atheist Experience, which is this particular podcast, but you'll also get my other podcast, the Bible Thumping Wingnut podcast, the flagship podcast of the network. You also get Len Pettis's Grappling with Theology. Interesting stuff. For those of you who've been following Len Pettis and I on YouTube for 5 years now, you might want to check out Grappling with Theology. Len is not compromising his Christian position at all, but he gets into his hobbies and he talks to other people about things that aren't focused on Christianity. You might want to check it out. Grappling with Theology. Find that at BibleThumpingWingnut.com or just search anywhere on any podcast catcher for Grappling with Theology. You also get J.D. Hall's Polemics Report on Bible Thumping Wingnut, as well as Christ the Rock Church, and the new Shine as Lights Kidcast is coming up. Yes, a podcast from a Christian perspective, a Christian podcast for children. Yes, indoctrination. We've got them, Len. Get them early. Get them early.
Yep.
Before,
you have to. You
yeah,
have to. You gotta be atheist to the punch.
Yeah, before science grabs them, before they find out science is a thing, you gotta grab them.
Right you are, Tim. Right you are.
All right. So this week they don't have the A team. I mean, or the B team. Russell Glasser and Phil Ferguson.
They went deep. They went deep on the bench.
Hey man, I'm not going out there. Not after what happened last week. I ain't going out there. You go out there. No, you go. Let's send out.
Who's screening the calls? I want to know who got written up at the Atheist Experience this week for taking that call.
They probably don't even know. They probably still don't even know.
I think you're right.
All right. All silliness aside, Len Pettis and I, Christian apologists, lay people, self-trained. We love the Lord. We love the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Trained, and you called me.
And also, we have in the house our atheist friend, in-house atheist Sid Durblock, sitting right behind me. If he has any input, he's
shoulder
gonna whisper right in my ear. I'm actually,
is he photobombing you?
No. I promoted him to the desk here, to the back table.
That's still no seat at the table, which makes him a true wingnut.
So, the purpose of this show is to listen to atheist arguments and show the folly of them, and to point people to Christ. That's our goal here. Sometimes it's boring, like Len. He's yawning right now. But sometimes it's fun. But it's something.
I'm getting ready for Infinity Wars. I'm seeing Infinity Wars as soon as we're done with this. So let's hurry up here.
Throw your money away. Locally, they gave it a 3 bags of popcorn rating.
I don't care.
Out of 5.
My money, Marvel. Take my money.
Well, this is going to be painful because I don't have it queued up to the first caller.
We're song in the history of intro.
Wow. Thanks, guys. Welcome to the Atheist Experience. I'm your host, Russell Glasser, and with me today is Phil Ferguson.
Hello.
See, they love you. You don't have anything to worry about.
No, that was
Hi,
easy.
Phil.
They love me already. I can leave.
Yep. Bye. I just brought you in here to get the applause.
That was my Costanza moment.
Yep.
I'm out of here.
Okay. Today is April 29th, 2018. Hi, everybody. The Atheist Experience is a production of the Atheist Community of Austin, a Texas nonprofit education.
What's with the thumbs there, Len?
They look like two thumbs.
So when we
They
don't,
do. Tell me they don't.
and we don't,
No,
they look like regular guys just like me and you.
I guess. Feeling a little punchy right now. Back to the show.
Well, how does he know what the date is would be my question. See how easy that is? He made a claim.
Right. Yeah. I thought atheism makes no claims.
Organization dedicated to promoting the separation of church and state and the promotion of positive atheist culture. If you enjoy the show,
Which is a joke.
then you can meet us afterwards
Why positive?
live at the Star of India Indian Buffet at 2900 West Anderson Lane at 6:15 p.m.
Baptist atheist.
Also,
Got food.
if you are local to Austin, and this is very important, it is 1 week until the annual ACA elections. I'm rerunning for president. We have a whole slate of board members up for election, many returning and some not. Please join us if you're a member. If you're not, consider becoming a member. You can do that right at the last minute, and then you have the right to vote along with your family if you get a family and some not. So I will see you here next week, the ACA Free Thought Library at 11:30 a.m. And it's right there on the screen if you miss it. So go back and rewatch the YouTube thing if you're just listening to the podcast, or rewind 30 seconds. Yeah, because you can never get enough of hearing me talk about business stuff.
I know I can't.
Of course.
I'm going to speed it up.
Phil Ferguson is visiting in town. This is your second appearance on the show, and you are the financial advisor of the Atheist Community of Austin. Thank you.
My pleasure. I'm glad you guys let me back after last time.
Yeah, and I will let you talk more, I swear. But first, we have a caller from India who is, it's very early in the morning for this poor guy, and he's been waiting for a while. So hello, Ujval. Welcome to the show. Did I say your name right?
Hey, Russell.
Hello.
Yeah, that's right.
Woo. Good.
I'm impressed.
Hey, Phil.
Hello.
Okay. There's a little bit of a lag, I think, so we're going to try to work around it and take turns. What's on your mind today?
Okay. There was first of all, I'm an atheist myself, and I think I've been an atheist for about 2.5 years, maybe 3 years close to. I have a very specific kind of situation that I want to talk about. I belong to, at least I was born as a Hindu, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with the caste system in India.
Marginally.
But I'm from the Brahmin community. I'm from the Brahmin community. That is the priest community. And being the eldest son of the family, there are some things that I'm supposed to do on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, quarterly, yearly, and for about as long as I live, I am supposed to do certain things. And being an atheist, I don't actually believe in most of those things. Actually, none of those things I believe in. Mainly around the funerals, there are a lot of rituals that we are supposed to follow. So, and the eldest son of the family is supposed to perform all those rituals. In the absence of the eldest son, it's the youngest son who's supposed to do it. If they have more than 3 sons, that is. And it's mostly the sons of the family, who are supposed to do this. So being an atheist, I don't believe in them, and I won't be actually doing it for my parents.
I want to ask you something. Quick question. Do your parents know that you don't believe in their faith anymore?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
My
do they
wife
have
knows it as well, and
do they have a problem with it?
But I don't think they've thought of it, to this extent. As in thinking about funerals and rituals around funerals, because we generally don't tend to think about funerals as in till someone actually passes away. Well, actually dies. I don't believe that they pass on to some other place. They just die. That's it. So I don't think they've given it much thought. And I have started giving it a thought recently because one of my uncles passed away. My father's brother, younger brother, passed away. And my cousin went through all these rituals himself. So, and I've known about this for a long time, but I just didn't give it much thought. And when I saw this happen, I gave it some thought, and now I'm kind of scared, skeptic. I don't know what.
What's your question?
I would like to ask, what do the rituals involve exactly? What is it that you're not comfortable carrying out as an atheist?
Okay, the Hindu faith actually believes that people, when they die, they pass on to another life. They are reincarnated as some other creature, maybe another human being, maybe a dog, maybe a cat. We don't know. It could be anything, depending on their karma, depending on the positive things that they've done in their life and the negative things that they've done in their life. They get a life assigned to them, and God has nothing to do with it, apparently. It's just that they're assigned a different life, and I don't believe that. And most of these rituals actually revolve around that concept of karma.
So being an atheist doesn't automatically disqualify you from speaking at funerals, although sometimes it's a matter of what kind of relationships you are trying to maintain with other people. It sounds like your parents are not...
Did I miss it, Len? I thought he said he was a Muslim. Did he say he was
Hindu.
a Hindu?
Hindu.
All right.
Yeah, he did say Hindu. Yep.
All right. I should pay attention.
You
especially bothered by your atheism, but I'm just wondering, I don't have a full sense of what they would expect you to do, but if you're supposed to say, you know, we hope that he's gone on to be reincarnated as something really cool, or whatever it is that you are expected to say, would there be any consequences if you just said, you know, I liked my uncle and appreciated him, or whoever it is, and you know,
I must say that our show is definitely winning right now. The Atheist Experience has 8 thumbs down, and we have 0.
Boom.
Just saying.
QED.
Yeah.
We'll miss him and so forth.
I'm sorry to cut you off there, but it's not just talking. It's I have to sit through the rituals, as in I have to perform some rituals, as in I don't know. It's very difficult to explain. It's very complicated.
Okay. What if you don't
talking? Yeah, if I don't perform those rituals, although I don't believe that, it said that if the eldest son doesn't perform these rituals, the third generation, as in my great grandfather, will not reach heaven or whatever. Okay,
but that's not true.
I don't believe in any of that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do it, but
sure,
it's like I might be guilt-tripped into doing it.
I have a couple of thoughts. One is you could talk to your parents about it and see how important it is, and maybe they wouldn't be bothered by you not doing it, and they could plan for someone else doing it. Well, okay, so apparently that is not.
All right, he did a blatant atheist no-no. Did Russell? He said it's not true. Russell made the claim. He made the claim. When you die, you don't become reincarnated.
Yeah.
How would he know that to be true? How would he demonstrate that that's true?
Right. Yeah. I mean,
can't.
You know, if you want to know as many true things as possible, I mean, demonstrate that that's not true.
Now, it's not obviously it's not our position. We're not, but
no,
he made a truth claim.
Right.
But there's nobody there to challenge him. So
no.
We're all still smiling. Look at him.
A likely option. Yeah. The other thing is, like, when I've had parents and relatives die, I kind of see it as I will do whatever it is they wanted, because that's the last request they ever get. And so for me, it's kind of like, I don't know how else to say it, but I have a sacred obligation to do whatever they wanted, no matter what it means to me, because that's their last wish.
Which brings up Dillahunty saying that, hey, if my grandmother was dying and I was at her bedside and she just begged me to commit my life to Christ, I would.
Right.
There's like no morals. Like it's the situation ethics. Like we're so firm that this is fake and this is, you know, mythology and all this other stuff, but yet they won't stand up for their convictions.
No.
Len, you're the worst person to have at a funeral. I mean,
no.
How many funerals of with lost people have you gone off with the gospel presentation, because you just can't sit there without sharing the truth, regardless of, even in a funeral situation, of how sensitive a topic it might be. That's why I say you're like the worst person because
as a Christian, there's no greater time to discuss the gospel, because what's on everybody's mind. And I worked at a cemetery before being a Christian. I managed a cemetery. I oversaw probably 10 to 15 burials a week, did the intakes and everything like that. And that is the time when it's on everybody's mind. So there's no better time to have gospel discussions. I think funerals are just God's gracious reminder that at someday, at some point, everybody is going to be at the front of a funeral parlor, church, mausoleum, whatever, whether it's ashes or a casket. Everyone's going to be there. And there is no better time than to talk about what happens. I had one of my best friend's dad, when he passed away, they had a Methodist pastor who came up and preached a purely universalistic message with his Muslim daughter sitting in a burqa right in the front row. She in college went to Saudi Arabia and married a Muslim man, converted to Islam, and had both of her Islamic son and daughter there. Daughter in the burqa also, and was absolutely derelict in duty. So when it came time to share, it was just one of those things where the pastor was like, "Well, whoever wants to stand up and share, anyone who wants to stand up and share, just feel free." So after all the family had kind of gotten up and shared memories or whatever, I got up there, and it's funny because Evan he just started to learn how to walk. And so I went to the front of the room and I started talking, and I was nervous, terrified. And all of a sudden, my son came and he walked up to me and just like did the up thing to me. So I picked him up and I held my son and preached the gospel to that room. And then I got in a big fight with the Muslim, not a big fight, I shouldn't say that, but we had quite a heated theological discussion on justice with the Muslim daughter. So it was very interesting. But yeah, I mean, if you're at a funeral, that is the time to be preaching the gospel. And I would be talking to this guy about reincarnation, like who's dealing the cards here in this game of reincarnation if God's not involved in it? Because he said that there is no God involved in reincarnation. Who's keeping track of the karma here? Who's saying, you're a king and you're a cockroach?
We've got atheists commenting on our YouTube feed right now. By the way, those of you watching on YouTube, thanks for watching. Those of you, we're also broadcasting live on Facebook. Thanks for tuning in. A guy, atheist, saying that he would throw his shoe at you if you were at his funeral and you started preaching the gospel. And
I would just take it.
And my point is, well, I guess it would be consistent with atheism to conform to the wishes of the deceased person. I mean, what do you have to lose? I mean, it's not like lying is a bad thing. It's not like, situational ethics.
Yep. And
it doesn't matter.
When my mother-in-law passed away, and we had time, we knew she was going to die. And she said she didn't want a funeral. She didn't want a memorial service. And she had converted to Christ within a year of dying. And so I said to her, I asked her for permission. Now I was going to do it anyways, and my wife was going to allow it, but she said she didn't want any kind of a service, no memorial, no nothing. Just have a meal. Just take my money and have a good meal and whatever. I don't want people sitting around looking at my box of ashes or whatever. And I sat down next to her and I said, Marianne, I said, most of our family isn't saved. I said, let us have a memorial service and let me preach the gospel at your funeral. And she said, I didn't think of that. Okay. Now I was going to do that whether she wanted me to or not. I was just being courteous. If she had said no, I would have said, well, I'm going to do it anyways. You're not going to be there to stop me. So, but yeah, that's the thing. No matter what your wishes are, people who are left alive, they're going to do whatever they want anyway. So that's what I found in all my years running a cemetery anyhow. So
there we go.
upon their death. And so to me, if I had to go up and say, religious verses or sit in a certain way or endure a 2 or 3 hour ceremony, for me, I would do that not because I agree with it or not because I like it or I want to, but because it's important for me to honor what they would have wanted. That's how I look at it, and it's a way to honor your parents, not to turn against what you personally believe.
Why honor your parents?
Right.
Adopting Christian ethics.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense, yes. But I wanted to give you a small description of what I'm expected to actually do there. So the first 10 days or after the death of the person, it's supposed to be mourning for us. 10 or rather 11 days for the person who's actually performing the rituals. It is 11 days. So 11 days of continuous rituals every single day. Then after that, for about a year, I'll have to do it every month. And then after that, it is every single year of my life. I'll have to perform it. So it somehow goes against my beliefs or lack thereof, which is why I'm struggling with this. But yeah, what you said does make sense. It kind of helps me out.
I totally agree with Phil when it comes to just laying this all out to your parents. I mean, talking to us, I'm sure will help clarify what you're thinking about. But really, if your parents are not combative about your lack of belief, then at least talking to them honestly and letting them know that you feel this way, and despite feeling this way, maybe are willing to grudgingly promise to do this anyway, would be a productive conversation. Maybe they don't care all that much or as much as you think they do. Of course, I hate to advise people to lie, but it's always possible you could say, yeah, I'll do this if it makes you feel better, and then not do it.
Well, that was the other thought that I had, is that it's not necessarily that you do 100% or 0%.
That'd be a good debate between Russell. I propose a debate between Russell and Matt Dillahunty. Whether it's appropriate to lie or not. Is
it ethical?
Yeah, that'd be a hoot.
Yeah.
Maybe you can do the 11 days and everyone would see that you did all that stuff. I don't know if the other parts of the ceremony are done in public. No one may ever know that you don't do the remaining activities for every year for the rest of your life.
Well, my wife would know.
Oh, is your wife a serious believer?
Oh, she's a religious person. Although she's very
that's a whole separate problem.
She's skeptic most of the times, but she still believes in the Hindu gods. So
why don't you ask her to do it for you?
No, it's the responsibility of the eldest son to do it. Eldest son of those two, or the parents, that is. In the absence of the eldest son, as in if he no longer exists, as in he dies or something, then the youngest son can do it, but not the ones in the middle.
Do you have a younger brother?
Son can't do it. It has to be the youngest. Yeah, I do.
Well, would it be acceptable for you to just say, pass over me, I want my younger brother to do it?
I am not really sure if I'm allowed to do that. Yeah. But yeah, that could be an option. I'll check.
And maybe your younger brother could help you do the ceremony. And if he's more religious, you could do some of it and then let him continue on for the rest of his life doing it.
Yeah, and the question really becomes allowed by whom? Because you think, and I think, that there are no Hindu gods or Hindu resurrectors, whoever the authority is that is making you do this. So that authority doesn't exist. There are social pressures that may require you to do this, but that's not to say, I mean, if you left the country and didn't do it, you would only have to deal with the blowback of trying to live in a new country. So I'm saying...
wow, they got really good advice.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: is these atheists complain about being ostracized by their religious communities. Because I came out as an atheist, I was ostracized from my religious community. Well, the thing about community, one of the aspects that makes a community is shared values. If you don't have shared values, you don't have community. So you don't belong in that community. So this religious, which of course you and I completely disagree with, anything Hindu and this religious right he's talking about does sound quite ridiculous, if I'm being honest with you, that this thing has to happen in perpetuity as long as he's alive. If I were Hindu, I might be like, whose idea was this? But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You don't share the values of that community. You're no longer part of that community. Now, what are your options? The community is supposed to bend to your values, but they don't share your values. So what are you complaining about? Just stop. Or come up with good arguments and convince your community to think the way that you do. And if they don't, then guess what? You gotta find a new community. Sorry. Like, that's just, and by the way, that's true everywhere. You and I aren't welcome in any atheist community, Tim. We don't share their values. this person who said I would throw a shoe at you. Why? Because he doesn't share my values. That's why I'm not part of his community. I would be an interloper. I would be interfering in the community. It's no different.
Interloper.
Ay.
All right, I skipped ahead.
Let's skip ahead. This is snooze.
You're our own and not representative of the atheist community of Austin. I am both a techie and a guy who is interested in finance, and my experience with Bitcoin is that techies are fascinated by it because it's got super geeky technology behind it, and economists generally think it's bullshit.
Well, it's very clever, and I have to grant that it's very clever. But as one of my guides, like when the dot-com bubble was big, sometimes when the last person in to something that's growing very, very quickly, that's when you should be worried. And so one of the signs for me that cryptocurrency had a problem is when the cashier at the Piggly Wiggly asked me about cryptocurrency. So I knew that was a sign that we're near the end.
I see. Okay. Which may not be true.
It may not. There's no way to know. Yeah. Other fun things, I've done shows that describe annuities. I did the mathematics of a long-term healthcare insurance.
Math on podcasts is a notoriously excellent show topic.
It's an interesting thing because sometimes I'll even tell people, if you're listening to this now and driving, you may want to actually listen to another show and come back to mine.
Have some coffee.
Because we're going to go through the mathematics and probabilities. That's a good, fun topic.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand probabilities and statistics of how long-term care works. Or another one of the things I say, I'll just throw it out there, is if you have young kids, don't stay for college.
Just throw that controversial.
Yeah, I'm crazy.
Bring on the hate mail. I am also a nerd who finds math fascinating, but we're going to go on to more callers, unless you, all right. And so we are going to go to line 5. Will in Oklahoma City, where we both were last month.
Hey, Will.
It was a very nice time that we had. You guys have some lovely hotels and convention centers, and that's most of what I saw. How are you?
Oh, doing fine.
Did you, you're a believer, right?
Yes, I am.
Were you aware that there was a teeny tiny atheist convention going on in your city?
No, I wasn't aware.
Yeah. Get your PR guys on that, American Atheists. Anyway, go on. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Yeah, they told you I'm a Christian.
Why is it important that the Christians know that the atheists are meeting? Why would we need to know that?
Because they want us to know when their religious ceremonies are. You know, it's like when a church puts their meeting times on the sign out front. You know, they want to. This is when our religious ceremony happens. So.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I saw a short note on the from the call screener, but not a lot of details. So, what's up with you?
Yeah, I wanted to call in and say why I believe the Bible's true, and why I think there's evidence.
Excellent.
Can't wait.
Oh, here we go.
Well, my first evidence would be all the missionaries that go into other countries to spread the gospel.
Okay.
And it just seems to me that if it wasn't true or wasn't reliable, that they wouldn't make the time or effort to, go overseas.
Obviously, we know the answer that they're going to give, right?
Well, if I were an atheist, you know what I would say?
What would you say?
I would say the Book of Mormon is true because Mormons send missionaries all over the world.
Yeah. Yep.
Jehovah's Witnesses are true. Now, disagree with me, Christian.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, I'm sure that's what they're going to say.
Yep.
You know that atheists don't deny the existence of Christians, right?
Well, yeah, I know that.
Okay. I mean,
are you aware that other religions do the same thing? They send missionaries.
I didn't think they did it as much as Christians did.
Some of them do. Some of them don't.
Is the number what determines the truth?
You want to see missionaries talk to people who are enthusiastic about Bitcoin.
And Jehovah's Witnesses knock on every door.
Oh yeah,
all the time.
Jehovah's Witnesses are way more active than you guys. They're smaller, but they're real busy.
So based on your logic, you need to convert to Jehovah's Witness.
Boom.
Well, I would also say, though, a lot of them are willing to lay down their lives. I mean, Christians have been killed in other countries for the gospel, and it just seems to me that if it was...
And those people who flew planes into America's big buildings?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean... Okay, so Christians are willing to die at the hands of others, but there are other religions who are willing to kill themselves for their religion.
Right.
So... yeah, that's 9/11, man. That's it.
Wasn't true. Why would they die for it?
Some guys flew into a building.
Wow.
It's like we've heard this before, right?
Yep.
It's like we know atheists.
Beliefs.
Yeah,
Make them right?
they really, really believe it, but that does not make it that does not make their belief accurate.
Well,
True.
I mean, martyrs have died for it over the centuries for the Bible, and I just
Okay.
This is a guy who probably genuine believer,
Right? Yeah.
who's sitting in his church and hasn't engaged with any non-belief, any real thought. Well, not that real thought happens in the atheist mind, but
not according to their worldview.
yeah, he
This
hasn't
is
engaged
like-
with the skeptics.
Yeah. You're exactly right.
This is
Tim.
me day one on YouTube.
Right. This is Christian apologetics on the internet, day one. What is this caller's name?
Will.
Will call us. Hit us up.
Come on, Will. We'll show you love. We won't laugh at you.
Tim, if you were going to call and try to prove the Bible true as a presuppositionalist to these people, where would you start? Let's just juxtapose presuppositionalism against this evidential argument that this guy is giving, which, by the way, nothing particularly wrong with his apologetic, except that it's being kind of refuted for its inconsistencies. But they're not untrue. What he's saying isn't untrue. Everything he's saying is true.
So,
but it doesn't. The Bible,
right? So if obviously I wouldn't call the show because that would mean they win.
Yes, yeah.
But if I bumped into Russell at the Piggly Wiggly
after a Bitcoin discussion,
which is the best name for a grocery store. We don't have Piggly Wigglies where I live.
We do, but we have pig.
I have lived in areas where they have Piggly Wigglies, and that is just like, where are you going? Piggly Wiggly. What would I say to him? Within the presup or within the evidential as a balance?
In this moment, you said, I'm going to call and prove.
No, I'm not calling. I'm bumping into him at Piggly Wiggly. We have to make that.
Okay. You bump into him at the pig, and you say, Russell, I want to.
Come on. Well, first of all, I don't have to prove it to him. He already knows.
Boom. Game over. You win. And if he argues with you, you win.
Absolutely. Of course I win.
Yeah.
I like the way you're sitting in your chair because it looks like you're looking at me. I could sit like this. And no, I'm not looking at you. I'd have to sit like this and look at a blank wall.
My camera's to my right, but my screen is right in front of me.
This is me looking at the video.
If I want to look at you, if I want to look at the listeners, I have to go like this.
Look at the listeners? You mean the camera? If I look at you, I look over here. The
camera is the listener.
Here's your Skype. Your Skype is here. And then the atheist show is over here.
All these people wouldn't have been willing to die.
Well, I don't know if you caught what Phil said, but how do you feel about the 9/11 hijackers?
Well, they were Muslim. Christian.
But they were willing to die for what they believed
in.
They
did die for what they believed in.
So based on your logic, you should be Muslim.
Well, I think another evidence is
are we changing the subject from that one now?
That's 2 strikes and no balls. So give us your third one.
Go on, yeah.
Okay. There's a man I listen to on Christian radio. His name is Andrew Womack, and he said that his son's dead body was in the morgue for 5 hours.
Oh no!
No, it's a Dr. Brown plant. He was at a Dr. Brown seminar. You know what's going to happen, right? You know where he's going with this, don't you?
The guy was raised from the dead.
Tim, Luke 16. What does Abraham say to the rich man in Hades. He says, send a ghost to my brothers to warn them. And he says, they have Moses and the prophets. Let them hear them, because they won't even believe if one is raised from the dead.
Yep. Yeah. Even if this caller could verify that a person was raised from the dead, even if he could prove it, they're not going to believe.
Yeah, I mean, there's a scientific explanation, but look, the Bible is true. What is it that Cy used to say? The Bible is true because without it, you can't know anything. Right?
Yes.
So what is knowledge? What is truth? What is truth in a world without God?
Did Cy say that? Or
yes.
Did Cy say, if the Bible is not true, we can't know anything?
I can't remember exactly how he worded it because now you've confused me.
Well, what I said sounds more accurate, so it's probably what he said.
The Bible is true because without it, you can't know anything. I'm pretty sure he said that open air preaching at campus.
All right.
No, the Bible is true because without it, you can't know anything.
Yes. Did you have more? You waiting for me to push play on Will? I don't think the co-hosts have facially responded yet to the resurrection claim here. Let's see how they respond.
Why didn't he start with this home run argument? That's my question. Hey, Muhammad is there.
He's always there.
I know. Dude, that is my favorite. That's my favorite thing about the atheist experience is Muhammad.
Muhammad, those of you who don't watch the video, Muhammad is a stuffed cow sitting on the desk in between the two co-hosts.
Possibly one of the best play on word Muslim insults ever. Muhammad.
And he prayed, he prayed to God for him to be healed, and his body was raised from the dead.
I find that difficult to believe.
I mean, I don't think he would lie and make it up.
Well, there are a variety of reasons why people say things that are not true, and not all of them are because they are deliberately lying. In a lot of cases, I mean, we talked about Muslims and Jehovah's Witnesses a minute ago. I do not think that Muslims and Jehovah's Witnesses are lying about the things that make them take those religions seriously, but they are still mistaken about the things that that lead them to believe that those are the one true faiths. You would agree with that, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think what I'm noticing is the pattern in the three examples that you've given us is maybe a lack of ability to understand evidence. The number of people that believe in something is not evidence for its truthiness, for its truth.
Truthiness. That's true. He's not wrong.
But he can't tell us why he's right. So what we have now is just ultimate skepticism.
He can't tell us why he's right. He's not saying he's right. Atheism makes no claims, Tim. But no, this is the problem with an evidential approach. Is even I mean, this poor caller has given a lot of really bad evidence. He's given 3 really bad examples, and when he was refuted, he didn't even try to respond or rebut. He just moved on to the next one. Well, I got this one. So it's not just, it's an example of bad arguments and how to argue badly. Like he should have some argument as to why it is Mormonism isn't true, even though they evangelize. Why is it that Christians in the early church died for their faith, even though Muslims died for their faith, but whatever, you have some rebuttal to it. When you move on the way that he has, and again, it's a call-in show. They're not going to give you a ton of time. You have to have good arguments for your propositions, and he has not done that. He has definitely failed in that. Christians in the early.
Sorry about that. I was checking the link there.
That's all right.
Their devotion to an item doesn't mean that it's true, and a testimonial story doesn't mean that what that person believes is true. What you need to have is actual documentable evidence, not a story.
Documented evidence. What kind of documented evidence? Like, what would you accept, Mr. Skeptic? Documented evidence
of someone raising from the dead?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I would want. I would want death certificates. I would want eyewitness testimony, and I would want doctors saying, I would want the doctor who pronounced him dead and then was found alive in his morgue. And yeah, look at this. I mean, that's what I would want. And believe me, as a cessationist, I would argue probably far more voraciously against the claims of this individual than these two atheists are.
Well, what about documented evidence of the resurrection of Jesus Christ?
Well, you have scripture.
Documented.
Yep.
And everything that you would expect for the people of that time, how they would respond.
Correct.
That happened. And the way Christianity has progressed to this day, you would expect that to be the result of the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Right.
Can you
Are you familiar with Andrew Womack?
No, I'm not, and actually I'm Googling him right now, which I know is great TV. But can you tell me more details of this story? What did the son die of, and when was he declared dead, and so forth?
I don't know the details, but he's preached about it several times, and he said that his body was in the morgue for 5 hours.
Because I would also assume if you're in the morgue for 5 hours, that you're locked into one of the little chambers.
Well, I don't want to speculate too much on the details of the story.
It may not matter.
But
and he said that his son came back to life.
But it sounds like all he had to do was say that, and you believed him and were immediately convinced that this was good evidence. Although I assume you were a Christian before you heard that story, right?
Oh yeah, I've been a Christian all my life.
Right. So it's not that the story itself convinced you; it's that you heard the story and it dovetailed with something you already.
What about Nabil Qureshi's wife, who prayed over him, and he didn't come back to life?
Andrew, this is Andrew Womack. God raised his son Peter from the dead after 4 hours. Blue naked morgue toe tag. Well, the caller's got the story wrong. I won't play that. It's a video 15 minutes long.
Yeah, we don't.
That would be a rabbit. That would be a rabbit.
Google it. Yeah.
Believe, and so you found it easy to take that seriously. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't find it easy to take seriously, at least not on this point, or not yet. And the fact that you don't know any details doesn't help me all that much.
I would say I don't take atheists seriously because I've found no evidence that they do make truth claims.
Yeah.
To be true.
Yeah.
Or any foundation of knowledge, morality, logic, anything. I don't take it seriously. Do you take it seriously?
I don't.
I'm just a really snarky guy. But you know what? That's okay. Snark away.
Snark it up, baby.
Snark it up. Not that what their behavior justifies my behavior, but I believe, to the point, those who suppress the truth in their unrighteousness to a point, I believe it's okay to just point out the folly. I mean, we preach the gospel here. So we want them to come to Christ, but I don't think mockery is out of bounds.
I think another thing I can tell you is the nation of Israel.
Yeah.
The other, Arab nations and, the terrorists that want to take them out, they can never take them out. And I mean, that tells me that God's looking after them.
Well, I mean, Israel was gone for a couple of thousands of years before it was specifically reinstituted as a place by a bunch of people who were interested in fulfilling that prophecy.
And based on that logic, you should be Jewish. So you've got
Well,
Muslim,
there is
Jehovah's
that.
Witness, Jewish. So the other thing I think is very...
That was a bad argument there. I forget that guy's name.
What guy?
If you believe that the nation of Israel being restored is an evidence for the validity of Scripture, the guy just made the argument. Then you should be a Jew. You should be Jewish.
Well, for one thing, that's a false eschatological view, and I would have probably argued rather than you should be a Jew because, that's Christian. I don't want to say it's Christian theology. It's a theological view that is valid within Christianity. A valid eschatological view, but I would say, well, what about the people who disagree with you? What about the people who... But that's the thing. These guys don't know anything about Christian doctrine, beyond what's really shallow. Maybe they've read the Left Behind series or saw the Kirk Cameron movie or something. Maybe, I don't know. But, I would say, well, what about the millennials who don't believe that there's a restored nation of Israel, or the post-millennial?
You really have to go there. You really have to. Come on. We don't argue against other Christians on this show. Come on.
Israel becoming a nation again has nothing to do with the Bible. Nothing. Nothing to do with the Bible.
Okay. All right. God's not working in the nation of Israel anymore. Hashtag grappling with theology. Isn't that what you just said?
That's what I said.
Isn't that what you just said? That's what I heard.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Interesting to me is that if you have evidence that's disproven, you abandon it immediately and go to another evidence, and it's disproven, and you go to another evidence. How many of these do you need to show that your logic has got some problems with it?
What is logic? Justify logic,
I think there's
atheist.
all kinds of evidence out there.
I know you do, but it just seems like you don't.
Everything that he posed is a piece of evidence. You can choose to discount it and say no, but he's making the claims that they might be weak, they might be true, but you can't say they're not pieces of evidence.
Right. And maybe the thing to say is like these are evidences that really undergird and boost my faith. These evidences, rather than saying, well, this is evidence that the Bible is true. Actually, the things that he brought up aren't really evidence of the truth of Scripture. Martyrdom, no. Missionaries, no. Yeah. Because remember, that's why I was calling to prove the Bible true.
I was laughing at a comment on YouTube.
Oh dear.
You're not really willing to go into detail on any one of them, because as soon as we bring up something that might be problematic about your logic, instead of holding on to it and responding to that, you just change the subject.
And by the way, 100 really bad arguments does not equate one good argument.
Okay. Well, about the nation of Israel, there was the Six-Day War in 1967.
Yeah.
Wasn't there? So those other nations were wanting to take out Israel, and they were stopped
by soldiers fighting them,
and bombs and jet fighters.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't stopped by some magical hand reaching down and like Monty Python or something, grabbing their planes out of the sky. There was an actual war with people on the other side, and the other people won. I mean, it may have been unlikely to have that particular side win, but I mean, as football fans know, unlikely things happen all the time. Especially and it's less unlikely because Well, in more recent times, they've had the undying support of the United States government, which tips the scales a little bit. But I cannot remember the Six-Day War well enough to say what the circumstances were in that case. But it didn't seem to be God in that case. It seemed to be...
What'd you say?
I said, I know enough about the 6 Days War. I actually studied the issue, but when I studied the issue, I don't understand why Muslims call America the Great Satan and Britain Little Satan, because Zionism couldn't have happened without the British Empire's influence, and yeah, it's bad, but it had nothing to do with God. That much I'll say. It is not valid eschatologically, biblical, but whatever.
So Russell is making an argument that God, if God uses men to fulfill his purposes, then it's an evidence that God doesn't exist, because God didn't do it. Men did that. So
well, the thing
you would expect that within his worldview.
Well, and that, think of it from his point of view. It's like, no, prove God's involvement in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to do so, the caller has to beg the question. It has to just flatly assume that God exists axiomatically, which of course there's nothing invalid about that per se, but it's something that as presuppositionalists we want to look for inconsistencies and strongly highlight them to show the fallacy and the invalidity of their worldview. And so they've done their part on this, pointing out these inconsistencies. So because you have two pieces of evidence. You have one piece of evidence being looked at by both sides. Men accomplishing something. The atheist says, yeah, that was men. And the Christian says, yeah, but God was behind that. Don't you see?
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if you could point to some prophetic, you got the Jack Van Impe Study Bible and you can find the prophetic meaning or whatever. It's still, that's the problem with evidence. That's the problem with an evidential argument. You both have clouded lenses through which both sides are looking through the evidence. One is looking through Christian glasses. The other one's looking through atheist glasses.
My question to you, Len, is the word invalidity, is that actually a word? Invalidity?
You just said it, and I know what you're talking about. So yeah, I think it's a word.
All right. I should write down words that you say that I'm unfamiliar with, and then at the end of the show, just read them all. Because there was another one. Invalidity. Hey, it might be a word.
Could be. Why not?
An effective army.
Well, I did watch a video on it, and they said that there were visions of angels or something that stopped the enemy.
Okay. Did the video include any footage of the angels? That would be convincing.
Not actual
really.
footage, but
Yeah.
people talk.
See what the other guy said? Not really. Hello.
Yeah.
Brush up on your skepticism there, Russell. If there is video
That's
evidence,
CGI.
Yep, it's photoshopped.
Mm-hmm.
People talking about it, saying it happened.
Yeah. But again, people talk about what they expect to receive in Muslim heaven. People talk about a lot of things.
And Christian countries have lost wars before.
That's true too.
And Muslims have won wars.
That is also true.
Okay.
And the Crusades didn't go very well either.
Yeah.
Can you prove that those things happened? Can they prove the Crusades happened? Can they prove that all those things happened? What would they appeal to?
Evidence. Whoops.
There you go. What are your jujitsu volume of the jujitsu?
It was actually you on a Marco Polo.
No.
Didn't watch your most recent one. I didn't think it would start playing automatically.
So yeah, what evidence would they present? Like, they're making truth claims, right? That these wars, that these battles happened before. I mean, what would they rely on? Eyewitness accounts that people who witnessed it. and then wrote it down. Well, we know
documentation. Yeah, documentation.
We know from the skeptic's viewpoint. My point is they're being inconsistent. These two gentlemen, he's being inconsistent. He's saying that these things happen, and he's relying on written documents by eyewitnesses. Okay. And we have been told via the grand poobah of atheism online.
Poobah?
Yes.
The grand poobah?
The grand poobah. Matt Dillahunty. Matt Dillahunty. We've been instructed and taught by Matt that eyewitness accounts are very unreliable and can't be trusted. So we can't trust anything that an eyewitness would say happened, whether they're reporting a historical event or let's be consistent, Matt, dear atheist. And why would you trust an eyewitness account of a scientist today?
Well, yeah,
of what they have observed.
Tell you what, if there were 3 eyewitnesses that you killed your wife, you better have 10 eyewitnesses to say you were at work and confirm your alibi. Otherwise those 3 eyewitnesses are going to put you in the slammer.
That's a red herring, Len. I'm trying to make a apologetic here.
No, and you made a very good apologetic. Forgive me.
Are you familiar with the concept of speaking in tongues?
Yes.
Oh no, we're going speaking in tongues.
I got to tell you, if that's the next one you're going to, I'm going to advise against it.
Thank you. Came in a Honda, left in a Hyundai.
But you can if you want. And let's say that this is going to be the last topic, and the next time you would like to change the subject, I think it's getting close to time to move on to another caller.
Yes.
I've seen people, like at the altar at church, who just start weeping. I mean, they start weeping uncontrollably. What would make them just start crying all of a sudden?
Maybe they took a hard look at their life. I don't mean to be flippant, but
people cry at weddings too. Does that?
Yeah, I just cried a little bit at Avengers: Infinity War. No spoilers.
I'm starting to tear up over this call. So
yeah, well, and Infinity War is like I even knew that none of it was real. Like it's not like I
had a vision of Spider-Man. Are you telling me that that's not?
But I mean, people crying is not evidence that they are believing something true. I have firsthand experience of that, is what I'm saying.
Matter of fact, you can watch your favorite sports team lose a game. I've seen people cry over that.
Yeah.
But it only happens while they're worshiping during the service. I mean, they can walk in being just totally normal and calm, and then all of a sudden they just start weeping while they're singing.
I have a suggestion for you. We want to find a movie called Marjo. And Marjo is a story about a young man who, at the age of 7 or 8, started becoming a preacher. And he did this until he became 18 and then stopped, lost his faith, and then came back to preach to show people how it worked. And the documentary shows how the music and the sequencing and the timing plays on all these emotional responses that humans have, and how people would end up getting worked up emotionally and psychologically to the point that they would cry and give away money, which was the ultimate purpose of his missionary work, to collect money. But it goes through, and you might have a better understanding of how a religious service works from that perspective. You might find that entertaining and enjoyable.
Anyway,
people falling down into the power of God too. They fall when the pastor prays.
Yeah, I don't doubt they fall.
Right, they do that. But thank you for your call.
Thank you very much,
Will. And
right.
I would have to say, Len,
proves gravity.
I would have to say, Len, that was pretty much the most painful caller that I've heard. I mean, that was really bad.
They'll let guys like him go on and on and on and on. Where's the realistic nihilist? I hope he calls and gets through to these guys. Let's go to the next caller. That was painful.
Yeah, let me get my cursor.
The proof
over
that God exists is without him, he can't prove anything. Boom.
You know, if you called and said that, they win. First off, they win because you called. The second thing is, if you called and said that, they would go, "Are you really going to go all priest up on me? Really?"
Nice talking to you. Yep. And sorry we're not convinced yet, but it was a good conversation. See ya.
All right. Well, I'll pray for you.
Good conversation.
Enjoy.
He's going to pray for you. He said he's going to pray for him.
Conversation.
Okay, I'll let you know if it works.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Okay.
He was a sincere caller. Charismatic. Yes. Sincere caller.
I'm just going to go ahead and say right now, no offense to this fellow named New from Missouri, but I do not care about talking about whether we live in a Matrix-like simulation. So
why not?
Oh.
Why not?
Because he knows we're reviewing them. That's why.
He's afraid. Is that Bible thumping wingnut guys are watching?
They know about us.
Do you realize? Hey, guess what? See this beautiful logo here?
Yeah.
That's one of their logos, right? And we actually improved on it for our podcast, and we made it the Atheist Experience. Let me see if I can zoom out on that. Oh, that's not it. But our logo, we added another experience. So to make it the Atheist Experience. And I put it on. Let me see if I can find it.
What is AXP though? The Atheist Experience?
Yeah, yeah. Kind of like,
shouldn't
cool?
it be like an A and an E?
Look at that. That's cool. So that's a cool logo. And I had Dustin Germain make a logo for us because we're the Atheist Experience, which is kind of interesting. The what's that word I'm trying to think of? That's an interesting coincidence that we would have a name similar to theirs. But no, listen. I used Dustin Germain made us. It looks really good. It looks just like the one that you're looking at right now, but it has an additional experience underneath experience. And I made it our logo on iTunes, which looked really fabulous compared to their logo on iTunes.
Yeah.
Their logo on iTunes was just a group photo in a park, and it wasn't very zoomed in. It was just like there's a lot of trees and grass, and then there's like a group of 8 or 10 people who are all the hosts of the show. And if you searched on iTunes for the Atheist Experience, ours would come up second with this great looking logo. Fantastic. They changed their logo on iTunes.
Did they?
Yeah, it's what you're seeing right now.
Oh.
So now when you search on iTunes or your podcast catcher, the Atheist Experience, theirs comes up and ours comes up.
Okay, 2. So what we need to do is switch it to the group photo.
That is actually a good idea because people are probably looking for that photo.
We should have we should just have a picture of Matt Dillahunty, the Atheist Experience.
What? Some confused look of his.
Right. I'm like,
move on, call another day or something. Lily in Illinois, how are you? Lily.
Hi. Oh my God.
Hello. Calm down. You're on.
Gosh.
It's fine.
Breathe deep.
Yeah. Sorry.
And you're from Illinois.
Get out of my house
what part of Illinois?
Oh, Urbana.
I used to live in Champaign.
Really? No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Many, many years. I know it very well.
Sounds like a fan. If I've ever heard a fan, sounds like a fan.
That is how people responded to you at the G3 conference. I remember that. Oh, I can't believe it's you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well.
That's awesome.
What a great coincidence. You should listen to his show.
That's right.
Yeah, I was just listening about it. I actually find that kind of stuff really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So my parents are kind of religious.
Mm-hmm.
I'm clearly kind of not. But a common argument that they have whenever I bring up stuff like, I said, these Catholic priests did terrible things to young boys, or I don't know, just terrible things in general. Like, Southern Christians are saying if you're atheist, then we're just gonna do terrible, arrest you or crap like that. My parents always say, well, they're not really Christian. they're using their false beliefs as like a pretense to be able to do terrible things to people. And I kind of wanted to know a way to argue back with that. I've tried to illustrate to them that that's clearly not very sensical, but I know.
Do you think they'll go to the no true Scotsman fallacy thing or what?
Yep. And the thing is that what I would just say, morality, well, atheists don't believe in morality, and not in any concrete or absolute sense. So
I would say I would say the chances are 0.0000 that they're actually going to be consistent and say, well, you're calling an atheist show. I mean, you do know that all moral situations are just subjective, and it's really just, just my opinion. So really we can't really argue against, or will we hear a Christian diatribe from of morality from these fellows?
I have no idea. I think no true Scotsman is the most likely thing we're going to hear.
You guys do this a lot more than I do, and professionally as well. So
sure.
Yeah.
Before I answer, I just want to know: are you currently living with your parents? Is this?
Yes.
Okay. And you are what? How old?
Get a job, woman.
Oh, I'm 17.
Okay, so you're still a high school student, and I gotcha.
She sounds a lot older than 17.
So will the gentleman on the left say, I think it's important that you honor your parents here and honor their wishes because they're your parents, and live a lie.
And so
like you did
what
before.
they think matters to you right now in a way that maybe it won't in a few years, depending on your situation. Because Phil and I were actually talking to a guy from India earlier who was...
I heard that, yeah.
Yeah, and you heard what we said, which is, and I'm going to get to the answer to your question, but I also want to make clear that we're saying that whether you have this argument with your parents depends a lot on whether having and winning the argument matters to you more than maintaining a good relationship with them.
And a place to live.
Yes, that too, especially an issue when you're a teenager.
I'm not really... worried about them taking me out. I know they wouldn't do stuff like that.
You're fortunate.
Sort of
I'm glad.
And you live in Urbana.
Oh, God, yeah.
You live in Urbana, so it's quite liberal there. So
very much so. Yeah. Just like, also, I guess this kind of ties in. Lots of my friends are also quite religious. There's lots of churches in this town. Some of them are just like Unitarian Universalists and stuff, not really incredibly Christian. And I want to be able to. I don't know. I feel like as an atheist, I maybe everyone feels this way, but I feel like I see something like religion definitely has terrible things that it does. Like Stephen Fry has done really excellent talks about that sort of stuff. I know it's Catholic Church. And so I want to be able to like help them understand the way that I think and maybe also think the same way. But then I realize, I might be doing the same thing as like all the evangelical churches that I don't really respect very much.
Are they interested in knowing what you think?
Yeah, oftentimes I don't like to pry into people's religion. I didn't want people to do that to me.
Sure. One thing that you might suggest to them is to do a book swap. That you pick a book for them to read, and they pick a book for you to read, and then you can have conversations either chapter by chapter or when the whole book is done, and it could open up a line of communication where you're not trying to convert them, you're trying to help them understand where you're coming from. And that might help a lot of what you're really trying to get to, because if you're trying to deconvert parents, like we said earlier, that's difficult and possibly problematic.
It's friendship evangelism right there. Do a book swap. Do a book swap, and then you can have meaningful conversations on the topic at hand. It's non-threatening. See, it's just a book. Read the book, and we'll discuss it chapter by chapter. I don't know why I put on.
Boy, you just went Scottish, and then you went like Arab at the end. That's why I don't do accents at all.
Yeah, that's the Scottish Arab. Ahab McGillicuddy.
Now, I do want to say that feeling a little nostalgia right now, it's very possible you will never have arguments that are as much fun as you do in high school and college.
That's true.
Because everybody wants to argue, and the stakes are really low. So enjoy it. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, does your school have a speech and debate team?
I would say the stakes are really high, Len.
Well, if you're religious, sure.
Well, the stakes are really high in what you believe and what you don't believe.
Well, and what you believe and what you don't believe. But he's saying the stakes in terms of the results of an argument. If you are a conservative Christian on any campus, yeah, you're in a massive minority, and people are against you. And yeah, the stakes can be high. It can cost you grades and status. So yeah, but you know, that's kind of what it means to be a Christian, you know. Marvel not when the world hates you, for it hated me first. So
they
Jesus
do.
said.
It's a tad corrupt.
Oh, wow.
But I was in it for a year, and then I left after we went to state and stuff like that, which I
Okay.
love, you know. But yeah, but sorry, I don't want to waste lots of time since I
No,
know
it's
other
okay.
calls are really.
Do you know any
long. I don't wanna
students
be rude.
at Uni High?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Lots of my friends go there.
Meet more students at Uni High because they are very low in religion. Not all of them, but a much greater percentage of atheists there than your school.
That's true. I find like people in more affluent communities are more likely to be atheist. Like my family doesn't really
Well,
have that much money, and
Yeah,
they're
that's
more religious. Which
that's Urbana. It's
yeah,
because the affluent people in Champaign-Urbana, a lot of them have things to do with the university, and they're very well educated, and they've been around the world.
Mm.
But you can go to other communities where all the rich people are ministers. So
yeah.
What is
It-
the
it's a little bit-
fallacy? Aim that fallacy.
Well, he was consistent. He was consistent, that guy, what he just said. He pointed out there are affluent people in other communities that are believers. So
Yeah.
you're not proving your point, is what he said.
Right. I mean, that's that liberal elitism that says, well, you know, the intellectuals tend to be. Look, I probably, I don't know, I make more money than probably everybody I know, religious or not, and I am religious. Okay, so what does that
that's a
even mean?
really great admission right
Like,
there.
No, but I
That's a-
mean, I'm saying like, so as
You don't,
as
you don't know
I increase-
anybody. No, nobody at all.
huh?
All right.
That I know personally and intimately. That's like, I'm not talking about Facebook.
And let's
here.
be honest, it's just like right now in the season, like the month you're having right
Yeah.
now. I mean, that could all change next
Right.
month.
Well,
Len.
Exactly. Well, and that's okay. That's a very good point, Tim, because I came out of a season of severe lack.
Yes.
And I know that I was more religious then than
Then
I
you-
am now that I am out of that season.
Wait a
and
minute,
into a
wait.
season.
Did you just say you were more religious when you made poverty level than now you make high middle class?
I'm saying that it doesn't make a difference.
Oh, okay, because you
That's
just
what-
it sounded like you just said you were more religious back then.
Right. Well, before I came to Christ 10 years ago,
Right.
I did make pretty good money. So maybe she's right. I came to Christ and it all fell apart.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit."
Yeah.
So be poor in spirit. Fatten your wallet, but be poor in spirit.
I'm gonna put that quote on Facebook.
Be
I
poor in
make-
spirit. Well, that-
No, I make more money than anybody I know. Len Pettis.
except for you, actually, you make more than I do.
You don't know me, and you don't know that you know that's not true.
I know you have an RV, and I don't.
I know you have.
I know you own your home, and I rent.
I know you have a new.
We're really having
a
this
new-
discussion right now.
I know you have a newer car than me. I drive an 04 Chevy pickup. What do you drive,
I
Len?
drive a Dodge Stratus. I
No,
drive a Dodge
No,
Stratus.
you don't. You drive 2014
Honda
Honda sports
Accord.
car.
4-cylinder. Yeah. Sports car. It's a mom car. I drive a mom car. Not that I'm assuming anyone's pronouns.
I'm not the one who said I make more money than
I say that to point out the fallacy. And by the way, my old church was full of rich people. All of them very religious.
Oh.
Joel Osteen, very rich, very religious.
Okay, that would have been a better.
That should have been the starting point. Benny Hinn.
There are some very, very rich ministers here in Texas, I got to tell you.
And there's more churches in Austin than in Urbana. Trust me, I just drove around.
True. Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to the no true Scotsman fallacy and you trying to bring up bad things that Christians have done, and the parents are like, just don't judge all Christians by those examples.
Okay, you used your argument. Okay.
Yep.
I had to get myself off camera so I could compose myself.
We better hurry up. I gotta go to see Infinity Wars in half an hour.
All right. Let's see, go to the next caller here.
Yeah, I don't go to matinees because I'm rich. I might even see it in 3D.
All right. They had somebody from Brazil call, but it was a very short call.
I don't even sneak candy, and I buy it right at the theater.
All right. This laughing has caused our viewership to go down 40%.
You're all doing pretty good. Thank you.
Good, thanks.
All right. Here's our next caller.
What's up?
Hey, so I had a question about your worldview. I was just curious, from a theistic perspective, being a non-denominational Christian, I'm just curious, how come atheists don't actually practice or live out their worldview?
I do not know what you mean. You're going to have to get more specific.
Atheists per se don't have a worldview. Each individual person, each person.
This could get interesting.
It's a good question, but we know the answer. It's only answer to one question. Atheism is only the answer to one question.
But we at least now know Matt Dillahunty's worldview.
Well, here's the thing, Len.
A logical naturalist.
Here's the thing, though. You just made me forget what I was going to say. Oh, you know what we're proving here? That we know their arguments, right? It's almost like they have a script.
Mm-hmm.
They get their script. Who'd they get their script from? I mean, that was the number one complaint about the presuppositional apologetics, is that, oh, you have a script. Just because we have answers that we give that we agree are the best answers to give doesn't mean it's not a solid argument.
Right.
So if you're gonna condemn and say we have a script, I think we know the atheist script pretty well.
Does, but there's not one atheist worldview that 100 million atheists share.
Right. Atheism is one perspective on one topic that maybe informs the rest of our thinking, but does not determine everything else that we think.
Was there a specific thing?
Phil and I are really geeky about math, and a lot of atheists are not.
That has nothing to do with
worldview.
I mean, but atheists can't act.
You know what? That's the second time, Len, that when they're trying to point out that they don't agree on everything, that they point at something completely insignificant. Last week or 2 weeks ago, somebody pointed out that, what do you guys disagree with? And Tracy said, I don't like purple, and because the other guy said he likes purple. That really honest answers right here on this show.
Right.
Answer the four most important questions about life philosophically.
Well, important is subjective.
He's gone full-blown skepticism now. I mean, he's gonna question everything this caller says.
Here we go.
Because he knows this line of thinking.
Let's let's let this thing play out and see where he goes, because I got a feeling this guy is probably a presuppositionalist. Because he's already started the internal critique.
Mm-hmm.
We think.
Was there a specific thing?
Phil and I are really geeky about math, and a lot of atheists are not.
That frustrates me to no end. He said that.
Is there a specific?
I mean, but atheists can't answer the four most important questions about life philosophically.
Well, important is subjective.
And even if they can't, doesn't mean we're wrong.
I love those. Even if I can't prove Christianity is true, doesn't mean I'm not wrong.
That's right.
Wow.
What are the four most important questions about life? I'm biting.
It would be origin, meaning, morality, and destiny. And I even beg to differ. Atheism.
Those aren't questions.
Humanity, no hope.
Yeah, I didn't hear a question, Mark.
Yeah.
Can you give us one question to start with?
So from a philosophical perspective, can you prove to me the origin and the evidential, historical evidence of why somebody would be an atheist when they contradict their own worldview within the frame they live?
Okay, you're back to the first question that I didn't understand.
I think was that a question? I think it was.
Well,
it was a bad question.
The question was, can you?
But I think it's a loaded question.
Since I didn't quite understand the question, I'm just going to say no. Next. Can you dumb things down for us a little? Because we're just simple-minded atheists.
I apologize because I thought Christians couldn't be logical like atheists.
Well,
that's what you think.
Guess.
Because
yeah, he's slamming them pretty good.
Yep,
they're on their toes now.
Origin of life. I mean, how do you even explain the Big Bang Theory? Well, what I find hysterically funny is how atheists reject the evidence we have of scripture, and the manuscripts are passed down from generations, and yet they deny the God of the Bible, but yet they can't even prove millions of years ago what happened.
Okay.
Do you know why? Okay. Do you know why scientists, and I'm not talking about atheists, but just cosmologists in general, have concluded that there was a Big Bang?
Yeah. In the beginning, God spoke.
No, that's not why cosmologists have concluded that. That's why you have. But the concept of a Big Bang wasn't around 100 years ago. So do you understand where people came to that conclusion in the first place?
Yeah, through science.
Okay.
I like that.
Can you be more specific, though? I mean, was it biology? There are a lot of topics that science covers. All right,
including
so let me help
theology.
you out a little bit. When you look at light, so you know how light can appear at different colors depending on the wavelength of light. Are you with me so far?
They are loving this. Like they are taking up time. They're shifting the burden, right, Len? They're shifting the burden onto the caller.
That's exactly right. Is that they have the caller kind of made a pretty serious error in the Big Bang. Look, I actually had a really interesting conversation with my jiu-jitsu instructor on Friday night about science and the Big Bang, and he's studying to be a chemical engineer, so he's right now studying like quantum physics and things like that. And so we had a really good conversation, and so what I wouldn't say, or maybe what I would say in order to juxtapose is like they always talk about eyewitness evidence and how unreliable it is. They don't even have that. All they have for the Big Bang is hypothesis. They have mathematical equations and models of a possibility of something that may have happened on the basis of evidence that they give that carries an awful lot of assumptive baggage with it. In other words, there's just so many things need to be assumed. And this is what I was talking with my instructor about. For example, assuming the uniformity of nature from this event called the Big Bang is highly inconsistent. So that's one thing that I would talk about it, because his four big philosophical questions that atheism cannot answer, he's right about. He's just gone down a wrong road with his argumentation, and he's being pretty snarky. And I get it. Like, you call into a show like this, if you're the kind of Christian you and I are, or were, or have been in the recent past, you might call into a show like this with your dukes up. We got to remember what the purpose is in apologetics. We're not arguing for argument's sake. We are getting to the gospel. These two guys, as much as we disagree with them, they are still our mission field.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So if things that have longer wavelengths look red to us, and if they're even longer than that, then we can't see them because they're infrared and beyond. Things that have very short wavelengths look blue or purple to us, and if
this is a man explaining a scientific theory, scientific concepts within a area of science that he doesn't have a degree in. So by his own standard, he shouldn't be speaking about them. He has made this argument. Him personally, Russell, has made that argument repeatedly. You can't speak. Why would we even talk on the subject? We don't have degrees.
they're too short, then we can't see them either because our eyes don't work that way. But what scientists have observed is that when things are moving very quickly, like close to the speed of light, or maybe not all that close. By the way, my dad is a physicist and he's sitting in the audience right now and I feel his eyes on me. Sorry I didn't stick
You should have him up. Speak to him.
with the physics classes, Dad. I'm doing my best. When things are moving quickly, they experience a shift toward the red because they're moving away. Because even though the wavelength of the light doesn't change, their motion relative to you seems to be longer. What scientists observed was that if you look out at any point in space, everything is a little bit more redshifted than you would expect it to be based on what we know about the composition of stars. And from this, they concluded that everything in the universe is moving away from us very rapidly.
So the farther away, the more rapid.
Yes, the farther away things get, the more.
So notice the assumption, he exposed the assumption based on what we know about this. We observe this other thing and we come to this conclusion. Well, again, what about the things you don't know that could contradict that? That's the problem. How do you, and this is where I would get right back into epistemology. How do you know anything?
I would say, why are you trusting your eyewitness accounts?
Right. Yeah, it's
that simple. It's that simple. Because once you hear their arguments, I mean, you can just use them against them. But yeah, you're correct as well. You went deeper than my simple.
You don't always have to go deep.
More rapid they are. And that is consistent with going back into the past and finding that at one point, everything was locally existing within the same small area and things were expanding from there. Now, does the Big Bang say what happened at the start of that? No. Do we know what that is? We have some. Okay. How do you know that?
Where in the Bible does it say Big Bang?
Yeah, the Bible does not say Big Bang. This is something that Christians have just latched onto since it was discovered by other people.
Because more than 100 years ago, Christians argued that the fact that the universe was finite was supported in the Bible.
No.
Yes, they did. Okay, you may think that they were mistaken and they were misreading the Bible, but they did argue that a long time ago.
No, I believe you. I'm not saying they didn't argue.
You said no.
You did say no.
But did that explanation make sense to you? Because you're asking, why do atheists believe in the Big Bang? And I gave you the answer. Is that a sensible conclusion?
Well, what caused the Big Bang?
We don't know.
Don't know.
And sometimes I don't know is the right answer.
No, God is the answer.
How do you know?
I don't need to know.
Well, there you go. Why are you asking how I know something if you have no idea what you're talking about?
And we actually want it to be true.
What is truth?
Instead of I don't need to know. What would the caller say?
That's what he said.
I don't need to know. I guess I would say God created all things, and you know that.
Right. He said, how do you know that? You're right. The same way you do.
Yeah.
Revelational
Not
epistemology.
just because you believe it. Can you
Okay,
support what you believe?
Yes,
Can you support what you believe? What I have demonstrated, what my goal is to demonstrate on this particular podcast is based on the skepticism, atheist community that we observe here on this show. They can't support anything to be true if you hold to their standard. So what we try to do here is hold them to their standard and expose the folly of it.
I can.
Okay. And let's try that for a change.
Sure.
Okay. I mean, everything you said is scientifically, science. What does science mean? Just means knowledge. Epistemology and
is this
stuff
part
like
of
that.
your evidence, or are you dodging the question?
No, I'm not dodging the question. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and God said, "Let there be light."
How do you know that?
I don't need to know that. How do you know that?
Okay. Why are we talking then? If you don't feel like there's anything that you have to tell us that's useful information.
I don't think the caller means what he's saying. He's probably trying to communicate something different because he said it again. I don't need to know.
Yeah, it's
because you don't know it or need to. Then why did you call?
You said you have evidence and then you don't provide any. Why is that?
Well, the evidence is in the Bible itself.
Yeah, but we don't believe the Bible.
That's fine. I don't believe in atheism.
Okay. Well, then good chat. Next.
So do you have evidence or not?
Yeah, prophecy alone proves the divinity of God.
Oh, so you do think that's evidence?
Oh, yeah, it's sufficient.
Okay. Hit me with your favorite prophecy. Make it a good one.
Now, prophecy is evidence.
It's excellent
evidence. It is evidence. It's such strong evidence that Matt Dillahunty has argued against prophecy with the argument of time travel.
And I really hope they go there, dude. I really hope that they go there.
That would be funny. That'd be funny if he said, well, we can't rule out time travel.
That would be fantastic if they did that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think these Yahoos are a little smarter than Matt Dillahunty on that particular topic, and they're not going to go there.
No. Now, Tim, if I were asked to give my favorite prophecy, I would, of course, go to Isaiah 53, and I would then go to the Dead Sea Scrolls, and that scroll of Isaiah predates Christ by 150 years. So,
and what Len is actually saying is an actual physical copy that's dated pre-Christ's birth. We have that. We have that.
And
so you would go there.
Isaiah 53 of the Dead Sea Scrolls matches the Isaiah 53 of much later extant copies. And see, here's the thing, dude, is like when you go through Isaiah 53, you are giving the gospel. So I'm really hoping this kid does that. He's got his dukes up a little bit too much here. And I get it, dude. I get it. It's easy to get your dukes up with guys like this, but he's got to calm down and be rational and be biblical here. Like, I love it that he's okay. The one thing, if you're going to argue evidence and you're going to use prophecy, at least now we're in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good.
And here, let me address somebody who made a comment. Reformed Christian Apologetics said, try 700 years before Christ. Yes.
Right.
That's when it was written.
But the scroll found in Qumran, that's what I'm saying. The physical scroll that was found in Qumran that was with the rest of the Dead Sea Scrolls, that is dated to 100 years before Christ, or 150 years. An
entire complete copy of the book of Isaiah.
Yes.
And another reason why this prophecy is wonderful is because after you go through that piece of evidence, you can slide right into the gospel.
Absolutely.
And present the gospel. Wouldn't it be great if we heard the gospel preached right here, right now?
That would be. Let's give him a chance. Let's give him the opportunity here.
Okay, where is my pointer? There we go.
Isaiah 53.
Uh-huh.
The book of Isaiah was written 700 years before the Messiah.
Just give us the prophecy.
Yeah, can you tell us what it says?
They don't even want to listen to the evidence. Just give us the prophecy.
And what happened?
if you read Isaiah, the book of Isaiah was written 700 years before Christ even came. Jesus came AD 1. The prophet Isaiah prophesied of the suffering servant, which even Orthodox Jews understand this passage to be a messianic prophecy. And if you read the entire chapter, no other person in history has fulfilled this but Jesus Christ.
There have been no other suffering servants in history?
Not that, no, people have suffered, but they do not fulfill every single verse in this chapter like Jesus.
Like what?
I mean, if you read verse 3, he's despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows.
Oh, okay. Good thing Jesus was the only despised and rejected person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
that is
the whole thing.
An amazing prophecy. And remember, I asked you to bring your favorite one, and that was the first one that you came up with.
Now, I have a question.
Do you think these gentlemen haven't heard the argument before? You think they haven't heard the great details of Isaiah 53? The great details that if you read them before any Jewish person today, not letting the Jewish person know that you're reading from the book of Isaiah, if you read it to them, a Jewish person who rejects the death, burial, and resurrection and messiahship of Jesus Christ, that Jewish person will say, well, that text right there is talking about Jesus. Do you actually think that these two gentlemen have never heard this argument, that they don't know of the details within the Isaiah chapter 53?
They may not have. I mean, that's the thing is, you know, one thing I've learned doing evangelism is that people don't know the gospel as much as we assume they do. People don't know scripture and arguments as much as we assume that they do. And so it's possible maybe they've heard it and forgotten it.
Or what you're seeing here, though, is they're not listening. They're interrupting as the caller's trying to explain.
Yeah.
I wish they would be more like Sid. Hasn't interrupted one time. Be more consistent. Be more like Sid Terblock.
Question for you as far as the Bible. When people wrote the books of the New Testament, were they able to read the Old Testament?
Were they able to read the Old Testament? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So when someone wrote books or stories to put in what became the New Testament, they could read what was previously written.
Yeah.
Change the story to fulfill what was written before.
No, not at all.
They couldn't?
Well, I think I could do that if I read an old Batman story. I can incorporate some of those themes into a new Batman story.
I guess I am a more creative author than those guys, because I could totally write you a Messiah story right now that fulfills.
Well, what would you say
now? Assuming right now, Tim, they're assuming Jesus mythicism.
Right.
They have tacitly, if not outright, accepted that Jesus, the mythology of Jesus, that he never existed as a person. So someone had the Old Testament and they wrote the New Testament in such a way that it could, you know, appear to have been fulfilled, even though this Jesus character never existed.
Now, yeah, they're going into the deep end of skepticism that says that Jesus never existed.
Right.
Which, when you and I came on YouTube 5 years ago, everybody was saying that if you think that Jesus didn't exist, you're just an idiot. Even the atheists said that.
Right.
Because it was most recently that Bart Ehrman made his arguments for that.
Right.
But now the pendulum is swinging and it's becoming more popular for them to say, oh, well, I just don't know that he existed. Well, they don't know that I exist. A skeptic, to the level of skepticism that these people use, they can't prove that I exist.
Right.
They can't. What else was I going to say about that? Secular writings about crucifixion. We've got plenty of secular writings, Rome, about crucifixion. And we've got a depiction in Isaiah 53 of the method of torture of crucifixion. That before it was even invented.
Yeah.
There's a piece of evidence. Doesn't prove anything. It doesn't persuade these people at all, but there's a piece of evidence that could be presented.
Right.
But again, they're just going to reject it.
Yeah. Well, let's let them
The
wrap this
prophecy is
up.
better.
No, what you don't understand is
Yeah.
if this was written 700 years before Christ even came.
That is a really long time to be able to come up with a story that fits it.
And no one else in history fulfills that prophecy.
No one else?
No one.
You know
So
every
far,
single
you've
human?
told us that there is a suffering servant. Okay, I think most servants suffer.
Well, let's see if they will even listen to the other things of Isaiah 53. I don't think they will.
And what was the other one? He was despised. Maybe he was a
And rejected
douchebag.
of men. No, maybe he's just fulfilling prophecy because you're actually rejecting him as well.
I reject the Easter bunny
Wow,
as well.
what's
so-
what? Okay, so if I accepted him, then the call would be over because you'd be like, well, yeah, you accept him, good job. If I don't accept him, then obviously it's true because not accepting him proves that he's fulfilling the prophecy. That's pretty weak.
No, it's pretty strong. I would.
Okay, if you say so.
What do you say? Because there's prophecies in the Bible that are fulfilled, and only Christ could fulfill those prophecies.
All right, so
Like I said,
he was
actually,
a suffering servant and he was despised. What else?
If you keep going down to verses 5, it says, "But he was wounded for our transgressions, and he was bruised for our iniquities."
I don't accept that happened.
There you go. Bingo.
What are you talking
For our transgression.
Bingo. Bingo.
Yeah.
He's just going to reject it because now we go to the eyewitness accounts. Now we go to, further skepticism. And he just said 4 hours of suffering. I don't accept that. That would be enough for the atonement of sins. Even jumped into that already. Just like shoot the shotgun of skepticism. Boom. I'm not even going to address. And of course, he's interrupting the caller as he presents the list.
There are a million stories in movies and literature about people getting hurt for other people.
Yeah, but what you don't understand is that you're not even opening your mind to the possibility.
Well, no, you are
studied it
assuming
yourself.
the validity of the story that you're trying to prove to us, and so
Because I
you
know
are
it's true.
How do you know it's true?
Because
If you
Jesus
would share this
literally
with us,
existed.
If you would share this with us, then maybe it would be convincing. But all you're doing is pointing to aspects of the story that we're not finding convincing.
Well, I don't understand how you don't see how he fits the prophecy. If you read it and you know anything about Jesus, he's the only one in history that fulfilled this prophecy from Isaiah chapter 53, verse 1, all the way to verse 12.
I don't like to crib off other atheist experience hosts, but I do, it's on occasion, enjoy Matt's comment, which is, if I order a steak and the waiter brings it to me, did he fulfill my prophecy?
No, because that wasn't thousands of years ago.
Oh,
What if I order a steak last year and it comes to me this year?
actually, I think ordering a
They're childish now.
Yeah, totally.
Total childlessness. Their argument presents them as people who have no clue of what prophecy is, but they do know what prophecy is. They're just not engaging in the conversation anymore.
Right.
steak and it coming immediately is a better fulfillment of the prophecy.
True.
Because, I mean, that guy was at least timely. If all you're doing is saying there's going to be an earthquake, and then 1,000 years down the road, there's an earthquake, that doesn't really count as me predicting that earthquake, right?
I would want to get to the gospel as soon as I can, but I would also be presenting that like there's 8 solid, huge, actually there's way more than that, but there's 8 like solid, huge prophecies in that text that were obviously, as written in the New Testament, Jesus fulfilled them. And the chances of one person fulfilling them are astronomical.
Yeah.
It's divine. So I would say, I would present those. I would say, I know you're going to reject it, but listen, this is what it says. I should say, this is what we believe. And this is why we believe it. And this is why Jesus did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd present the gospel to him.
Right?
Well, I mean, that's fine. You have an opinion. You know, you have your own. You're entitled to your own opinion.
Does it? What do you think about Nostradamus?
Oh, Nostradamus.
Yeah.
Any predictions?
Yeah, and a lot of people said he specifically
Prove Nostradamus existed.
Yeah.
Hello. Let's Be consistent with your skepticism.
Yep. Ding dongery. That's what this is.
All right, we're going to need some Christians to give us some thumbs up because we have more thumbs down than thumbs up now.
Hey, how about super chat? Give us money. That'd be even better.
Len doesn't need it, but the network does.
Yeah, that's
Typically
right.
predicted 9/11, for example. He didn't, but a lot of people said he did, and retrofitted a lot of stuff in the actual story to match the things that they thought he was saying. Have you heard that one?
Some people say 9/11 didn't happen.
Yeah, yeah. Hello. Skepticism is just
self-refuting.
That is irrelevant to the scriptures.
Well, how about this for a different topic? The Bible promotes slavery. Are you pro-slavery?
Good night.
That noise you hear is Len banging his head against his microphone.
I can't get enough of these intelligent atheists.
We're
can't
done.
get enough.
We're done. We're hanging up on the show. We're done. We are.
Where's Matt Dillahunty? How bad is it when you need Matt Dillahunty to bring intellect to the conversation?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to or watching this episode of the Atheist Experience. It's a podcast where Len Pettis of Grappling with Theology and myself, the Bible Thumping Wingnut, review the unfortunately popular skeptic show, The Atheist Experience, demonstrating biblical apologetics for your, Lord willing, edification and enjoyment. Go to BibleThumpingWingnut.com for other podcasts that are part of Orthodox Christianity. Bible Thumping Wingnut is Orthodox Christianity's marketplace of ideas for your edification and enjoyment. Next week, tune in Sunday night, Sunday afternoon, where depending on your time zone, we do this every week. And of course, if you're a Christian and you appreciate what we're doing, you are few and far between. And we would ask you, you like it when I say that. We would ask you, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or listening on podcast version, please consider supporting us. Of course, assuming that you've given appropriately to your local church first. Go to BibleThumpingWingnut.com and click on support our ministry. You can give on Patreon. If you do on Patreon $5 or more, I will send you a book and a free t-shirt.
If you're in the USA. If you're in the USA.
If you're in the USA, because it costs way too much to send it to New Zealand. Yeah. Thank you, Peter.
And if you live in Canada, you need a US PO box so you can cross the border and get your stuff.
I have found that Christians in Australia and New Zealand and other places that listen to us, who support us, they're very understanding. When I ever talk about sending, hey, I'm going to send a book to all my supporters, they send me, hello, I live in New Zealand. Do you realize how much it costs to send a book here?
Yeah.
Like, don't send me a book. It wouldn't make any sense. So thank you, Peter, and other people in Australia who support the ministry. And thank you for listening. I hope you found it beneficial, and pray for those who suppress the truth in their unrighteousness, that God would save them, that God would reveal, that would change their hearts and cause them to repent and believe the gospel of Jesus Christ. Until next week, take care. Thanks for watching. God bless. Oh, did I click stop broadcast? I hope I didn't. I clicked on it once. I also wanted to thank John Brady in the tech room. John Brady, the eye patch guy. Thank you, John. He is working very hard for the Bible Thumping Wingnut podcast and the Atheist Experience. And Lord willing, we will have some new technology coming. We may be taking after show callers. How do you feel about that, Len? After show callers.
Oh yeah.
Woo-hoo.
I want atheists to hang up on. That'll be fun.
Every atheist caller who calls needs to know that they lose when they call.
You lose.
Losers.
Thanks for calling, loser.
See you next week. Take care.